Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're making some fun, budget-friendly fall home decor. I'm using some fabric, some from Dollar Tree, some from Walmart that I picked up on clearance. But you can also just pick that up anywhere, not just even the little, I think they're called fat quarters. You can just pick it up anywhere. You could also use scrapbook paper instead of fabric in these if you wanted. But let's get started with these fun DIYs. First up, I have a sign that is from the Dollar Tree, and it's been painted white, just painting over whatever that decor piece is. You can take the paper off if you need to. Anyways, I'm going to paint it, and then I'm going to give it a good coat of Mod Podge all the way around. We are going to, I didn't really have to paint the Mod Podge on the edges, but some of it got over there, so that's why I was just smoothing it out. We are going to be working with some fabric here from the Dollar Tree, and we are going to use the iron-on method. So this works great with fabric, and you're just going to let your Mod Podge fully dry, place your fabric down, and then using parchment paper and an iron with no steam, and you're going to go over that, and that will reactivate your Mod Podge and help your fabric stick to the surface. I'm doing just a little bit at a time on the edges to make sure I got it in place. I didn't want it to shift, so I just kind of started with the edges and then worked my way across. This method is super great. You get no wrinkles, and it works out very, very well. So I'm just cutting it very closely to the edge with my scissors. You can use a knife. I didn't like an X-Acto knife. I did not want to cut it ahead of time because I don't know. I just didn't want to. So this is how I did it. But you do you. I just was very, very careful to get all the way to the edge. When you are using Mod Podge and this method, make sure that you go all the way to the edge. Don't skimp. You want to do a hefty coat, let it fully dry, and then you're going to proceed with the fabric, parchment paper, and the iron. So once I got it, the last of it cleaned up there, I did just kind of go back over the edge and iron that down to make sure it was stuck down nice and solid. Now this fabric is pretty busy, so we're going to keep any embellishments to a minimum, but I'm going to take this ribbon from the Dollar Tree and I'm going to do this around the edge. I didn't do the bottom because I didn't want it to affect its ability to stand up, but this adds a little bit of detail. It also covers a hole that was in the sign. Just, I think it was probably like a string with some beads on it. I don't even remember, from the Dollar Tree. And so this helps cover that up too. I didn't use a lot of hot glue, as you can see, just kind of on the corners, and just pulled the ribbon nice and taut. And this just gives a little bit of detail. This wood word came from Dollar Tree, I believe, in a pack of multiples, but Hobby Lobby has similar things. And I'm using a furniture marker from the Dollar Tree to paint this, to stain it, whatever you want to call it. This is a very handy way to do that, but you can paint it or stain it or use one of these markers. You can use a paint pen. But Hello Autumn, I'm just going to keep this really simple. I'm just going with a brown here because, like I said, this fabric was really busy and I didn't want to add too much else onto it so that it wasn't like being overdone. So we're just going to put a little bit of hot glue across kind of like the main spots. It's always hard with these wood words to get hot glue to make sure it doesn't like come out the bottom, but just put some on and attach that. I wanted to put that at the top. I liked the way that looked, and I also didn't want to cover up the entire wagon. And then I'm using this little sharp tool to just pick away any hot glue that did come out the sides while it was still pretty soft, and that just cleaned it up really well without ruining anything. Just do it while the glue is still a little soft. And that is it for this sign. Really simple, but it is so bright and fun and vibrant, which I do like incorporating a little bit more color in my seasonal decor, more so than I do in my everyday decor. Up next, I'm just going to do something that I already had in my stash. This metal milk can is, I think, from Dollar General, but it's just something I've had in my stash. So I'm going to just wrap this pretty fabric. This is another busy fabric, but this is from the Dollar Tree as well. And I'm just going to hot glue it to the can. So I'm kind of just eyeballing it and measuring it. And one thing that's really great about this is that, one, it's easy, it's very quick to do. And I'm not putting a lot of glue. I was so mad at myself here because I really did not. I should have measured it. Guys should measure it. I did not, and almost thought I wasn't going to be able to do it, but I was able to stretch the fabric a little bit and make it work. But the cool thing is I'm not having to use a ton of hot glue. And so if I want to take this fabric off at the end of the fall season, I can do that, and I'm just left with my plain metal can again. So just wanted to mention that. So I'm just going to glue this on. I'm going to trim off the bottom edge, and you could have just, I guess I could have just measured the whole thing and cut it out, but this is the way I decided to do it. So I looked at this can and thought, is this all I want to do, or do I want to add something else? So I wanted to add just a little something. Again, busy fabric, didn't want to overdo it. So I have this raffia ribbon. I wrapped that around a few times up at the top and just wrapped it around like 3 or 4 times, tied a bow, and then making my bow, I had the little tails on the bow, and I wanted to just make them look a little bit nicer. So I trimmed them down, and then I just took a marker that I had on hand and wrapped it around it. Probably would be helpful to dampen this, but this actually worked without doing that. And then I just went over it with my heat gun just for a short bit, and that helped me get this to be nice and curly Q. And this was really, really good. I have this in real time right now, but I'll speed it up or cut some of this out for you. But very easy to do, and I loved the outcome. And then I just went into my scraps of floral pieces. I think this is boxwood from Walmart, so nothing super fancy. You could put some fall florals in there, but so much color was on this that I just wanted to keep it simple up top. But let me know what you think of this one down below. This was super, super quick to do, and I love it. Up next, I have a book. This is in my craft stash. You can get these at thrift stores. You can get these at the thrift stores. You can get them at Dollar Tree. But this is a soft cover book, and I did cover it with paint because I didn't want any of the writing to show through the fabric. So do with that what you will. You could also tear off the cover and just try to use it straight onto the pages, but I still feel like the writing could come through on the fabric. So I'm very careful on the edges so they don't get paint on the paper itself, on the pages, but I ended up giving it 2 coats of Waverly chalk paint in the color white. So we have just a plain white book here, and once that was all dry, I'm gonna go in with a good coat of Mod Podge. Once again, we're gonna put this all across it, trying not to get it on the pages at all, but making sure you go all the way to the edge. We're gonna once again do our iron-on method with some fabric. So we're gonna do a fabric covered book, and this is such a fun way to make over a book. You're not really destroying it. I mean, I guess in some ways you are. If this is something you struggle with, then I'm sorry. But there's a lot of times books at thrift stores and the Dollar Tree that more or less may end up in the dump. So I feel like you're rescuing it from the landfill, and this is a great way to incorporate it into your home decor if it doesn't have the outer appearance of one you want for your decor. This fabric is so pretty. I got this at Walmart in their clearance aisle, and it's not necessarily a fall fabric, but the pattern or the colors of it is very fall-like. So I thought it was perfect. So I'm going to once again be lining this up and just doing the edges a little bit at a time to make sure that it stays in place. And then once I get it started, we can just freely go over the whole book without worrying about moving it around. If you're new to my channel, I just want to say hey and welcome. My name is Leanne. I enjoy sharing budget-friendly DIYs on this channel, whether that's Dollar Tree, thrift flips, whatever. There's all different ways you can make them on a budget, but I love sharing those on my channel. And if you're new here, I would love it if you would consider subscribing before you leave so you don't miss out on my future videos. As I was doing this first part here, I was kind of pulling the fabric. Maybe you could see that from the left-hand side. I didn't want to stretch the fabric and make the pattern crooked, but I did want to make sure it was tight. And I did get a little bit of wrinkles here, and you can still lift up the fabric, especially while it's still warm, and then just reapply it. So that's what I'm doing here. I went in for a second with just the iron, and I was like, no, don't risk something getting on your iron. Use the parchment paper. But I'm just trying to smooth out some of those wrinkles. It can be a little bit harder with like a bigger piece. You want to go bit by bit. But in the end, this was great. Around the binding of the book, I did go pull that nice and tight and just kind of work my way down because I didn't want it to wrinkle or bubble at all. This handy iron is from HTV Ront, and I love having this. You can also use your Cricut iron, but you can also use your iron for just like your regular household iron. Just make sure you don't have any steam. Now to trim off the edges, I didn't really want to risk messing it up with trying to use sandpaper. I wasn't really sure. I have done that with fabric before, but what I did was just elevated the book on something else so that the fabric was hanging down so that I could get close to the edge. And then I ended up kind of doing it this way. I didn't want to cut the paper because it's like a paperback book, so like it'd be easy to cut the cover, but I just took my time and went nice and close, and this ended up working out really, really good, especially when I did it this way where I opened up the book and laid it down. I wanted to do a little bit of embellishment on the book, not a ton, but just a little bit. So I have this wood tag in my stash. I think a friend gave this to me, and a wood burning tool from Walmart. I got this for Christmas, but I know it's from Walmart because I asked my husband for it, and I haven't used it a lot. It is a little scary because it's very, very hot. You need to be careful, but there's a little guard here for where you're holding it, and I am just using kind of like the fine tip writing tool, and I kind of went, you can see, I went over it initially just lightly, or like to get the outline of the letter, and then went back in and took my time. The longer you hold it in place, the more it burns it, so you have to be careful. You don't want to burn all the way through. You just kind of get a hang of it. I mean, I don't fully have a hang of it. I've only used it a couple of times, but I've been wanting to use it more, and I like this rustic farmhousey look. So I just decided, trying to talk too fast, to write the word fall, and I did do all capitals because I thought I might mess up the A if I did a lowercase a and trying to do a curved line. So I kept it simple for me. I'm using some jute twine, wrapping that around just a couple times. This is actually a thicker jute cord that I have, jute twine, and I just am using like half of the strands because it's a little thicker than I wanted. And we're just going to wrap this around a couple times and tie it in a knot. I didn't do a bow or anything. And then I wasn't sure how I wanted to do the tag. First I thought I would tie it all the way up at the top, and then I was like, no, I kind of want it to be dangling down. So what I did was I tied the twine in a knot, and then at the end of one of those pieces that was hanging down, I just tied it in a knot towards the top or back of that. And that was it. That was all I did for that. You could also add some florals or something, but this is going to be really nice to layer in with my fall decor. And I just thought that was a fun, nice little touch. So let me know what you think. Have you ever wrapped any books with fabric in this way for decor, not for just like your school books? For this one, we're going to use some scrap pieces of fabric just to kind of use up some of what I've got. And I'm using a wood cutout. This is from Hobby Lobby, but Dollar Tree does have similar ones. And I'm just going to cut out some fabric pieces. We're going to make some little bowl fillers, or I'm going to use mine in something else. I will show you at the end how I'm styling it. But I'm going to make 2 in each pattern, and I do ultimately go back and cut out some more in using some like canvas material or drop cloth material, I think it is. But I am just going to trace out the pumpkin, and I'm going to then stack them and cut the fabric. Now, this is a little learning curve. First of all, I decided to not use the stem of my pumpkin because we're going to do something else there. So I'm just drawing a little curved line, and I do use some pins to pin. I didn't want to do all of it at once, but I did a few at once. I don't have fabric scissors, but the scissors I have are newer, so they're pretty sharp, and I didn't have any problems. I also don't mind a little frayed edge in my material. This idea was brought to me by my friend Favi. Her channel, if you are not familiar, is Arrows DIY, and I was just talking about fabric. I don't know where why the conversation started, but she had suggested some little pumpkin bowl fillers, and I love that idea. I've been doing those for the last few seasons. I did one for like patriotic decor and for fall or for Valentine's Day, but I did it totally different with yarn. It was with yarn, so I love the idea of doing the fabric ones. But here's when I realized that when I took these pumpkins back to back, like opened them up, I'm like, the pumpkin's not symmetrical. So I had to do some additional trimming on this. But the reason I didn't fold over the fabric to cut it out was because I wanted to pay attention to where the pattern was at. I don't know if I'm making sense. I think I show you when I did the canvas ones. But it's okay. I just trimmed it up. It was fine. Thank you, Favi, for this idea. These came out so cute. So I'm excited to show you guys how this all worked out. So I just took some hot glue. I did speed this up for you, and just put hot glue around the edge. I didn't want to stitch it. I don't really do that super great anyway. And so I just put a little bit of hot glue around the edge all the way, except for I left a little opening up at the top. But this is a super quick and easy way to make these little tiny pumpkin pillows. But I'm using them as like a little bowl filler. The other thing is I had these little cotton balls, and I've had a little bit left in my bag in my craft stuff forever, and I'm glad that the bag's gone. I used the rest of them. I used about 4 small cotton balls in each one of these, and I just tore them up so that there weren't any hard clumps. That makes them go like further and just be fluffier. So you can also use some scrap fabric, you could use tissues, but I'm gonna use these little cotton balls. And then I wanted to use a little jute cord or jute twine for my stem. So I'm hot gluing that in and then hot gluing the top of it. And then we'll finish hot gluing up around the rest of the edges. And this I thought was cute because it just made it look a little bit different and it added a little bit of texture, but it was still soft. These are great if you have them out where kids can reach them. You don't have to worry about anything breaking or poking or anything like that. And trimmed that off. So that was it for that one. I did want to show you the canvas drop. I think this was a drop cloth. I'm sorry, I don't even know. But I'm tracing it. And what I did here, which is what would have worked better probably for that, for the pattern fabric, is I just fold it over on itself. So I still could only do 2 at once, but that meant that it was exactly how I needed it and the right shape was there. So I hope that's making sense, but I wanted to show you this one because even though that didn't matter because there was no pattern, I still wanted you guys to be able to see it. And then I flipped it over so that any pen marks were on the inside if I didn't trim off all of, all of the pen. And so we're gonna glue that and you get the idea. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. That helps me out a lot. It lets YouTube know that you're enjoying my videos and it makes them more likely to share my videos with someone else. Also, if you're subscribed, please make sure you turn on the notification bell because YouTube is kind of picky about that. If you don't have the notification bell on, they might not tell you when I post a video. So I didn't want to do a lot of embellishments, but I did add a couple little bows. So I had this brown and white like baker's twine kind of thing. I made a double bow, put that across the top of the orange one, a simple tiny little twine bow for this kind of busier patterned fabric. And then for the plain one, oh, trim off the tails here. And then for the super plain one, I just picked a leaf off of a piece of greenery, just a single leaf, hot glued that down, and then a little simple bow with an orange and white baker's twine, just for a little added color for this more neutral one. And that was all I did. I didn't put the bows on all of them just so you could see what they both looked like. But then also, because of how I'm styling them in this little metal truck, I knew that the ones behind you wouldn't be able to see them anyway, so I didn't worry about it. But I thought this was super cute. Thank you, Favi, for the idea. I love how these came out, and it used up a lot of scraps that I had around. All right, guys, well, that's going to do it for today's video. If you liked it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you are new to my channel so that you don't miss out on my future videos. Make sure you turn on the notification bell. It's kind of a 2-step process if you really want it to work for YouTube. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.